Hello and good evening. You are back live with the crew. Thanks for joining us again tonight. We have some breaking news, as many of you already know, that the Binance court case or SEC case has cracked open, and they're coming after CZ. And we have my lovely and talented wife, Elizabeth, to really help us clear up some of the legal ramifications of where this is headed, because as you and I know, this is going to affect all of us, even if you don't have a Binance coin or Binance exchange account. It doesn't matter, because this is what they're coming after, and they're coming. The SEC is playing God, if you will, in so many ways, and they aren't playing nicely. It doesn't seem. So, Elizabeth, what do you have for us tonight?
I was working on, for the Patreon members, I had started working on condensing the Ripple lawsuit to its essence. I was going to do a chart. I was going to compare the elements. We're going to be talking about some of that stuff again. The common enterprise, reasonable expectation of profits, horizontal commonality, vertical commonality. And I was going to chart them out. I was going to put SEC's point of view and Ripple's point of view, because my mind has been on, does this judge need to have oral argument on some of these issues? Because I'm reading through that paperwork and I'm left with questions, as you know, possibly from the last show. Anyway, as I was reading that and about to get ready on some of that stuff, I saw the Twitters again, and Binance broke. Somebody had access to this lawsuit right, like hot off the presses, so hot that it wasn't even, I couldn't find it on Pacer, even with the case number, even with the case names and everything. I couldn't even find it, but somebody, it was posted on, you could find it on the web, and I saw the document number and so on. And interestingly enough, the SEC drops this on June 5th, which was previously the deadline for the disclosure of the Hinman, and they asked for 1 week. So I don't know. I'm a suspicious person by nature, and so perhaps they asked for that because of that reason. And Ripple really had no choice but to agree to 1 week, because then they would just spend a lot of money arguing about a 1 week continuance and that, or extension of time, I'm sorry. So anyway, just a little bit off on a tangent. So I pulled up the complaint and I started reading, and I have to say, this is, for me, maybe not for everyone, and I haven't really seen this yet through the community, but quite a bombshell, actually. So I wanted to just give you guys the summary of what's in here, because most people, shouldn't say nobody, most people are not going to pull up 136 pages and start reading it. Your eyes are going to glaze over. You're going to go to sleep. But I had told Alan, this is juicy. And for me, this makes the Ripple case look like the library case. Like, I don't know. Maybe I don't know enough about it, but man, have they come down on Binance, Changpeng, Zhao, CZ, but sometimes they refer to him as CZ, sometimes they say Changpeng. So BAM, his couple of his other trading points, BAM Management, Binance Holdings, and so on. So I thought I would go through the summary of what they have argued. Well, I shouldn't say argued, alleged throughout this case, and go from there. So if the dog is chewing on my hand lotion, so that's fine. All right. So a jury trial has been ordered. I guess this is pretty standard. It's right up front. I'm going to pull up the complaint, and we're going to go through, as I said, the summary. Thank you, Alan. Just have, everybody has their OCD stuff. That just happens to be mine. I do apologize. So there you go. Jury trial demanded. And here's the it was somewhat bookmarked. I fixed some of the bookmarks. But here is the complaint. This is filed in the District of Columbia. So that's the jurisdiction there. They explain why they have jurisdiction there. And this is who they are suing. Binance Holdings Limited, BAM Trading Services, Inc., BAM Management US Holdings, Inc., and Chang Peng Zhao, defendants. Okay, that's, you affectionately call him CZ. And that's what this involves. Okay, so without further ado, I want to go through this summary with you. This will give you kind of the flavor, but then over on Patreon on a nightly basis, because I want to stay on top of it, I'm going to go through the facts, which are lengthy, and I want to do that in sections because they are lengthy. As you can see, I'll show you a snippet of what this looks like. Here's the facts, just the background for explaining the law, which I don't think I'll do. It's, we can go through that another time perhaps, but this is just the background on what gives them the authority to say they committed some violations. But here's the facts starting on page 23. These are all the sections of these facts. Going through, you can see a lengthy, here's all the cryptocurrencies involved. Solano, I think that is, ADA, Matic, Filecoin, maybe, Atom, Sand. I've got an issue here with my bookmark, something else here. Mana, Algo, AXS, Coty. And so this all goes through like page 125, 124-ish. Okay, so 100 pages of facts. This is 40 pages longer. If I remember correctly, this is 40 pages longer. I can clarify that for you another time than the Ripple complaint. So long, lots of facts. How did they gather it? They gathered it through an investigation. So as I understand it from Binance's tweet today and their blog, they blogged about this. They said, wow, you guys blindsided us. We thought we were doing everything that you asked us to do. Come in, we cooperated with your investigation, and here it is. You stab us in the back. Okay. And so that was from Binance today. If Alan's interested, I could also pull that blog up, but that's also very interesting. If I think of it, I'll post it in the show notes, the link to the blog. It's not that long. It's not 136 pages. But again, the flavor of that was, whomever wrote that said, wow, I feel blindsided. I feel betrayed by the SEC because we came in and we cooperated with you. So this summary, this was mostly bookmarked by the SEC. I fixed some of their bookmarks, which made it easy for me to just zip around it like this. So this case arises from defendants' blatant disregard of the federal securities laws and the investor and market protections these laws provide. In so doing, defendants have enriched themselves by billions of US dollars while placing investors' assets at significant risk. And I will note that when I was reading this, the words, the adjectives that this SEC uses, quite inflammatory, for lack of a better word, really just almost attaching definitions to things that maybe haven't been proved yet in this litigation. But
very speculative.
I did notice that. Yeah. Well, it's allegations in a complaint have to be based on facts. They have to be pled sufficiently. They cannot be based on speculation. So everything that's alleged has to be based on some kind of a factual assertion. And I believe in federal court, it's a little bit stricter. Hang on one second. Than it is for state court. Did you want to chime in?
No.
Okay. So I can look up here instead of looking down. Here we go. Defendants have unlawfully solicited U.S. investors. So again, this word, right? Big loaded word right here, to buy, sell, and trade crypto asset securities. You see how I said they're loading up these definitions. Trade crypto asset securities through unregistered trading platforms available online at Binance.com, Binance.us, and collectively called Binance platforms throughout here, okay? So keep that in mind. Defendants have engaged in multiple unregistered offers and sales of crypto asset securities and other investment schemes. So in Howie, there's a couple of ways you can get to whether something's a security. One of them is investment contract. Another one is this scheme, and there's a couple of others, okay, that don't come up in particular with these digital asset type lawsuits, I guess we'll call them. But in particular, we've been focused on, or the SEC is focusing on proving investment contracts. And now I see this word scheme, and I have seen this word scheme before used by some other judges in other lawsuits. Defendants BAM Trading and BAM Management defrauded equity, retail, and institutional investors about purported surveillance and controls over manipulative trading on the Binance.us platform, which were in fact virtually non-existent. So again, you see these loaded allegations, okay? And they have to prove all this. And like I said, there's 100 facts below that they're going to use to prove, to allege with sufficient evidence. I think it's a fact sufficient to sustain the cause of action without being thrown out of court, okay? So first, Binance and BAM Trading. So there's this BAM Trading. We need to keep track of this, okay? There's BAM Trading and there's BAM Management. So we'll see that throughout here. First, Binance and BAM Trading, under Zhao's leadership and control, have unlawfully offered 3 essential securities market functions. All of it, right? We know they were doing all of it. Exchange, broker-dealer, and clearing agency on the Binance platforms, which were described above, without registering with the SEC. Acutely aware that U.S. law requires registration for these functions, defendants nevertheless chose not to register so they could evade the critical regulatory oversight designed to protect investors and markets. And if anybody was following it today, the big talk of the town was that, I'm just moving my keyboard out of the way. The big talk of the town was that there was this meme that the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission posted on their Twitter page with one of the quotes from CZ Zhao saying something like, F the registration, we're not doing that, or something. So this is why they're saying right here, they were acutely aware that U.S. law requires registration for these functions. We'll get into those facts, like I said, over on the Patreon channel. Defendants nevertheless chose not to register so they could evade the critical regulatory oversight designed to protect investors and markets. Second, Binance and BAM Trading have unlawfully engaged in unregistered offers and sales of crypto asset securities, including Binance's own crypto assets called BNB. So Alan and I used to have these two, one of these two, BUSD, because I think we used to have this robot thing that ran through Binance. And so you had to buy some of this to make the robot run. Anyway, that was a long time ago. So as well as Binance's profit-generating programs called BNB Vault and Simple Earn, and a so-called staking investment scheme available on the Binance.us platform. In so doing, they have deprived investors of material information, including the risks and trends that affect the enterprise and an investment in these securities. Third, BAM Trading and BAM Management have made misrepresentations to investors about controls they claim to have implemented on the Binance.us platform while raising approximately $200 million from private investors in BAM management and attracting billions of dollars in trading volume from investors, including retail and institutional investors seeking to transact on the Binance.us platform. This is interesting. This is certainly has that same feel as the raising funds to be able to operate, which is problematic. It's called those early sales, private investors, and so on. But then this other stuff, I don't know. We'll see. I guess we'll all see. Starting in or around 2018, determined to escape the registration requirements of federal securities laws, defendants under Zhao's control designed and implemented a multi-step plan to surreptitiously evade U.S. laws. So again, that very inflammatory language back again. As Binance's chief compliance officer, CCO, admitted, quote, "We do not want Binance.com to be regulated ever." As one part of this plan to evade such a criminally loaded term there. And remember, I always call this quasi-criminal in a sense. I call these complaints quasi-criminal. That's just me. United States regulatory oversight over Zhao. As one part of this plan, Binance and the Binance.com platform, Zhao and Binance created BAM management and BAM trading in the United States and claimed publicly that these entities independently controlled the operation of the Binance.us platform. Behind the scenes, however, Zhao and Binance were intimately involved in directing BAM Trading's U.S. business operations and providing and maintaining the crypto asset services of the Binance.us platform. BAM Trading employees referred to Zhao's and Binance's control of BAM Trading's operation as, quote, shackles that often prevented BAM Trading employees from understanding and freely conducting the business of running and operating the Binance.us platform, so much so that by November 2020, BAM Trading's then CEO told Binance's CFO that her entire team feels like it had been duped into being a puppet. As a second part of Zhao's and Binance's plan to shield themselves from U.S. regulation, they consistently claimed to the public that Binance.com platform did not serve U.S. persons while simultaneously concealing their efforts to ensure that the most valuable U.S. customers continued trading on the platform. When the Binance.us platform launched in 2019, Binance announced that it was implementing controls to block U.S. customers from the Binance.com platform. In reality, Binance did the opposite. Zhao directed Binance to assist certain high-value U.S. customers in circumventing those controls, and to do so surreptitiously because, as Zhao himself acknowledged, Binance did not want to be, quote, held liable for these actions. As the Binance CCO explained, quote, on the surface, we cannot be seen to have U.S. users, but in reality, we should get them through other creative means, end quote. Indeed, Zhao's stated goal was to reduce the losses to ourselves and at the same time to make the U.S. regulatory authorities not trouble us, end quote. What's interesting to me is I watched a YouTube channel today talking about this complaint. They mentioned a couple of these little, uncomfortable tidbits, not flattering tidbits, and then said, oh, and the rest of it's just as boring. And quite frankly, like I told Ellen, I find this quite juicy, and I'm very interested in finding out what Binance has to respond to this in their amended complaint. Because as we know, the SEC is going to frame it, and like Ripple always said, they plucked out a little quote here and a little quote there and a little quote here from this year, that year, next year, and they sort of, just like CNN or any of those snippets do, and they put them together and they make them sound really awful. So right now, does this sound awful? Of course. I mean, the SEC has done their homework.
What I want to know is, does Binance get to put a little statement from a secretary about how evil the SEC is?
I mean, inflammatory rhetoric isn't really evidence.
Well, isn't that what they just put in that?
Well, this is evidence. So these are quotes. If there's quotes around it, they've taken it from some document somewhere that they said, and this is considered a statement by a party opponent.
Okay.
So it gets.
And I can tell you that everybody in the Binance office has said something as inflammatory about the SEC's laws or rules or their leadership.
Right, but those are more self-serving than anything, or they're just inflammatory rhetoric, not evidence of accountability. Like, I'm missing the word right now, but this is evidence against them.
Mm-hmm.
And I can go and say whatever I want about anything, but it has to be relevant to some issue.
One thing that struck me when I read the first part of it this morning was they're making a lot of accusations here, okay? And that they claim they can prove, okay? Which is, maybe they can prove all those.
That is what basically a complaint
What they
is.
can't prove is that Binance ever lost a single client $1, because nobody ever has.
Mhm.
So that strikes as something to me. And number two, they will never have FDIC bailouts. Okay, ever. So they have to play at a higher level because they don't have Wall Street or the printing press backing them up for any losses in which they might have. Okay. The other thing that really bothers me is that they were doing research upon other exchanges or other brokerages, we're going to call them in this term, okay, and couldn't catch anybody before they stole $9 billion from the American people. So are they claiming that we're doing this to catch these people before they run off with everybody's money? Or are they just trying to catch them on the fact that they broke rules on how to get people to earn money for themselves? That's what I'd like to know. That's what struck me as inflammatory. I was like, you've made a lot of accusations about what you think he was doing, but the bottom line is you've never proved that he stole a single nickel from anyone.
And we shall see. And I think this is I think this will overshadow at some point the Ripple issue. And perhaps that's why the timing of this right before the Hinman breaks out, because for me, I'm very, I didn't get a lot of my own work done today. I was just reading this. But anyway, indeed, Zhao's stated, quote, goal was to reduce the losses to ourselves and at the same time to make the U.S. regulatory authorities not trouble us. Next, defendants' purposeful efforts to evade U.S. regulatory oversight while simultaneously providing securities-related services to U.S. customers. You see how they keep throwing those it's already proved type stuff in their complaint. Services to U.S. customers put the safety of billions of dollars of U.S. investor capital at risk and at Binance's and Zhao's mercy. That's just, to me, that's unnecessary, character assassination or whatever you want to call it. Lacking regulatory oversight, defendants were free to and did transfer investors' crypto and fiat assets as defendants pleased, at times commingling and diverting them in ways that properly registered brokers, dealers, exchanges, and clearing agencies would not have been able to do.
And I addressed that in a video that you will see tomorrow morning, and that I recorded this morning, and I think I covered that pretty well as to what he was doing right there. What he was doing right there was saving, as all of us know who own crypto, it's not a good idea to leave your crypto on an exchange. So what he was doing is put it in his crypto into either Tethercoin, or he was putting it into Bitcoin, or he was putting it into actual wallets and getting the wallets off the crypto exchange. And they say that's wrong. That's bad. You can't do that. Yet every bank in America takes your deposits and does what with them?
Sells them or creates a loan out of them or something.
Commingles, which is exactly what they accuse everybody of doing. It's frustrating to listen to the SEC talk out of both sides of their mouth.
You need a cocktail?
No.
Okay.
What I need is a government that cared about people.
Oh, you're gonna be waiting a long time for that.
That's what I'm really looking forward to.
All right, it's never gonna happen.
Yeah.
For example, through accounts owned and controlled by Zhao and Binance, billions of US dollars of customer funds from both Binance platforms were commingled in an account held by Zhao controlled entity called Merit Peak Limited, which funds were subsequently transferred to a third party, apparently in connection with the purchase and sale of crypto assets. Moreover, defendants understood the importance to crypto asset investors of implementing trading surveillance and controls over crypto trading platforms. Zhao himself stated in 2019 that, quote, credibility, I guess he had that, it's in a quote here. So Zhao put this in caps, is the most important asset for any exchange, exclamation point. If an exchange fakes their volumes, would you trust them with your funds, question mark? And so this is actually positive for me, for him, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Defendants BAM Trading and BAM Management touted the surveillance and controls supposedly in place to prevent manipulative trading on the Binance.us platform. But defendants failed to implement on the Binance.us platform the trade surveillance or manipulative trading controls BAM Trading and BAM Management touted to investors. Thus, defendants failed to satisfy basic requirements of registered exchanges to have rules designed to prevent fraudulent and manipulative acts and the capacity to carry out that purpose. The supposed controls were virtually non-existent, and those that did exist did not monitor for or protect against, quote, wash trading or self-dealing, which was occurring on the Binance.us platform. Did not look that word up. And I don't know what wash trading is. I think they explain it.
Yeah.
Moving on here.
It's anyway. Wall
Most
Street does it all day long.
okay. Maybe they'll explain that better for us. Most notably, from at least September 2019 until June 2020, Sigma Chain, AG, Sigma Chain. Oh, it's going to be called that from now on. A trading firm owned and controlled by Zhao engaged in wash trading that artificially inflated the trading volume of crypto asset securities on the Binance.us platform. And then they talk about Congress and what they asked. They permit what's a law and what's not. Inspection, conflict of interest. Binance and BAM trading under both Zhao's control have engaged and continue to engage in unregistered offers of sales and so on.
Let's remember, people, that Zhao actually was a trader in Wall Street for many years before he started his own exchange. So he knew the game he was playing. He knew the rules. He knew the laws. He knew what was happening. And he thought he could create a better exchange. And in my opinion, I think he did. And they don't like that. They don't like entrepreneurs who come along and show them a better way of doing things after they've been doing it the manipulated, corrupt way for 100 years. My opinion.
And then they tout this whole garbage here about protecting capital markets and investors.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. So from here, I'm going to wrap. So we're going to wrap this up at this point. This is the summary of where they're going to take us in, as I showed you the facts down here. There's some other law stuff here I may or may not cover, but I really, really want to dive into the facts over the next, say, 5 videos. I'm going to try and do one every night before I have to leave again on Sunday for my prisons. So we are going to, I'm going to come back to this other stuff maybe, but this is what they're seeking, the injunction stuff, the disgorgement again, not the civil money penalties, etc. It's the same stuff. So final words are from me. I think this is a big deal, as I stated in the beginning. I think this may, I don't know, may be bigger than or as big as the Ripple issue, because there's a lot at stake now. Now they're really there, and I felt like too, one last thing was everyone was saying, oh, how, SEC's cowering in their boots over Ripple and this and this and this. And then they dropped this bombshell, and I'm thinking they are not worried at all about any of it.
No, public opinion to them means absolutely nothing.
And that's what really stood out to me, all this hype about,
They're coming after us. It's a war. We're at stage 3, and they're coming after us. And they're not going to win. I'm sorry. You're not going to ban crypto in America, and it's legal everywhere else in the world.
yeah.
That's just not the country that this is.
And
Maybe that's the country they think they're going to create, but that's not what's going to happen.
yeah.
My 2 cents.
But right now we are, a little bloodied
Yes. Yeah.
in this. It's not over, but I do think it's important to keep our eye on this. And I would like to, like I said, from the get-go, give you the reality of what's going on, because I know you're going to get the sound bites that say everything's all right. Alan can give you that. He's my Mary Poppins. I love that about him. And he can always make me not worry about, oh, don't worry, the sky's not falling. Each and every time he really does and can do that.
Well, I'm also a visionary, and I see the future, and I know what this technology is. And I don't care what they try and outlaw. They've never been able to outlaw anything. Nothing ever in the history of man. Murder is against the law. Okay? It occurs.
Yeah.
So
I'm the Chicken Little. He's your Mary Poppins. And I guess we'll just wrap it up from here.
yeah,
Folks, thank you for all your support on Patreon.
you guys have been amazing.
And
Thank you
that's
so
where
much.
I'll be with the rest of this complaint
And the link will be in the video.
every time. And if there's anything that you have a question about and I can answer it, I'm not a securities law. Please don't buy or sell crypto or anything else based on what I tell you or what Alan tells you or anything else. I am not your lawyer, by the way, and this isn't legal advice. All this is for entertainment purposes only. So have a wonderful evening, day, wherever it is that you're watching this from.
And
And we will see you soon.